No kitty cats today, so it's just going to be us. I am, however, rocking my sweet D&D Pride shirt that I normally don't get to wear because I have the green screen going, and I'm not good enough with chroma keys to stop from having a hole in the center of my chest. But I digress. The reason I'm here is it is August 23rd and time for episode 23 of RPGaDay 2018. Today's topic is which game do you hope to play again? And for me, that answer is Cypher System. The system by Monte Cook Games. Specifically, I really want to spend more time playing Numenera. I've got to play it in a couple of forum games online using text only, but I've yet to play it either in person or even via Roll20. The system really interests me. I like the way it does character creation because instead of being an elven fighter with a background of a sailor, you are a adjective noun who verbs. So you are a mystic glaive who explores dark places. You are a curious jack who controls gravity. And that's how the system creates things. So you are an adjective noun who verbs. And each of those things means different aspects of your character. There's only the three classes in the core system, and while they have similarities to D&D classes, the glaive leans a little bit towards like a fighter or a melee character. The jack is kind of your rogue or bard or jack of all trades, and the nano is closer to a wizard or a spellcaster. They don't necessarily need to fall into those tropes, especially depending on your adjective and your verb, because you can pick glaive and it be a kind of melee focused tanky high hit point character, but you can get adjectives and verbs that give you more spellcasting abilities. Well, spell like, we'll get into that in a second, but you can really mix up the type of characters similar to the way that you can get a fighter in D&D but then take Eldritch Knight to be more gishy. So the reason I say spell-like abilities is because the setting is really interesting to me in that it is Earth a billion years into the future, millions and millions and maybe billions of years into the future. So much so that society and humanity has risen and fallen 8 times before this, meaning that we are in the 9th age. Humans have taken to the stars and left the planet. There were natural disasters that, global natural disasters or alien invasions, whatever it was, that technology was built up and then came crumbling down and started again, and we are now on the 9th iteration of that. What that means is there is technology spread around the globe, buried deep. There are hidden temples, there are crashed spaceships, there are buildings and structures and mechanisms and devices that you have no idea what their original intent was, and you as an adventurer get to go out exploring and trying to figure out what things do, salvaging them to make your livelihood, exploring to try and understand what the civilizations before you were able to figure out. There's just untold things that you can do with this really rich world. Specifically, there is kind of a global network. It's not necessarily Wi-Fi, but it's kind of an energy field, and it's something like Mr. Tesla once imagined. A network of energy that anyone could tap in and draw from, and that's where that spell-like ability comes from. Because there's a quote out there that I'll paraphrase since I didn't bother to grab it before I started my video, but at a certain point, technology advances to the state where it is indistinguishable from magic. Because of this global network of super advanced technology and energy, there are people that have the ability to tap into it and control it and can produce spell-like abilities despite the fact that they're not actually using magic, right? So you can have a curious jack who controls gravity, and the controls gravity part of that character means that they can tap into that energy field and turn gravity off underneath a foe, or turn it on and pull them down and pull them down off of something, or attempt to crush them by quadrupling the gravity pull in that area. You have people that can create fire and spell-like abilities by superheating the air around stuff using this energy field. So there's not wizards, but there are people who create magic-like abilities by utilizing technology that is so advanced that it might as well be magic. And the weird thing about the setting is you can play it kind of sword and sorcery, high fantasy setting, and it can also be more near or even far future because of the technology that's available. So if you want it to be sword and board, bows and arrows, romping around, exploring dungeons, a la D&D or Dungeon World or any of those high fantasy games, you can create that. And what you can do is all of the equipment that people have could just be a sword, or it could be something from some of this lost technology. You have a shield. Is it just a beaten piece of metal that you're using as a shield, or is it the generator that used to generate an energy field around a Star Cruiser's engine? And so you have this thing strapped to your arm that generates a small energy field that used to be part of a much larger mechanism, but that's what your shield is. It used to provide safety around some starship's hyperdrive, right? And your sword could be a sword that the local blacksmith made, or it could be the jaw off of a hunter-killer bot that used to seek people out back in the days of the Matrix, right? So it's really interesting flavor-wise, because you could just have leather armor, or you could just have swords and shields, but those things can also be flavored to be some mysterious something from a lost age that you or somebody dug up out of a temple or a crashed spaceship or some building that you don't even know what the purpose of it was. And you can create this lack of technology despite the fact that you're surrounded by technology, because you do not understand what it was for or how it was used, but you've repurposed it for what you need. You needed a shield, and this thing stopped arrows or stopped people's swords, so you repurposed it. Additionally, there's what's called oddities, which are kind of like one-off, ciphers are one-off. Oddities are really interesting, just little knickknacks, kind of like the trinket table in D&D 5th edition. And it really plays on that, something that was created for some purpose, but you don't understand what it was. And you get these little oddities and you find them while exploring, and it really helps set the scene, and it creates so many good role-playing opportunities, because oddities can be little things from a statue of a jade frog that ribbits if you stroke its head, right? It has no purpose, but it's just a really neat thing that characters can get interested in and find and try to sell or just keep because they really like it. I think my last character had a box of 24 pills that when you eat one of the pills, the next time you go to sleep, you vividly relive your favorite memory, right? And there's just so many little things like that that you can give to your players that aren't necessarily a monetary value, but you'll be surprised in how much people latch on to those things and create and flesh out their characters and the world just because they found a tiny music box that plays a different song every time you open it. On top of that, there's the ciphers, which I had started to mention earlier, which are like one-off useful items that can do all sorts of things. It could be essentially a healing potion that somebody stabs and injects to themselves to gain hit points, or it could be an item that you throw on the ground and it creates an energy field around you and protects you for 60 seconds. And so you make these exploring characters and you explore this strange and mystical world where you don't understand everything that's going on, but there's just so much to find and discover and to do. And while you're doing it, you have these little knickknacks and technology and just craziness. And I really love the setting. And I've been tempted to, if I cannot find people who want to play the Cypher system or Numenera, I have been tempted to homebrew either 5th edition or another system into it. Because I really love the setting and I really want to spend more time getting to know the Cypher system. So that's my answer for RPGaDay 2018, day number 23. And that's it. So what do I want to play again? I really want to play some Cypher, but I specifically really want to get to explore and do more in the world of Numenera.